All right, welcome back, everybody. It's Bruce with the Epic Experiment, back with another deck tech. It's been a couple of weeks, and I realized that I haven't been really keeping up on my end of the deal here, so I thought I'd share with you the most recent deck I've brewed up. Now, I'm in the mode of building mono-colored decks. It's not something I've done in the past. I've got 50 decks built, but most of them are 2 and 3 color decks. So I'm finally getting around to building some mono-colored decks. This is my mono-blue deck. I'm playing Matoya Archon Elder out of the Final Fantasy set. So she's 2 and a blue for a 1/4 human warlock. Whenever you scry or surveil, draw a card. So she's pretty innocuous. No one's going to be scared of her. But she does some gross stuff, and I took it for a test drive. This Bracket 2 deck played really nicely, and we'll talk about why here in a second, all right? So the deck is premised around this idea that I want to draw cards using the surveil or scry mechanics that are out there. So let's start with our ramp package, all right? So if we're gonna ramp, we gotta ramp a couple of ways. All right. So the first one here, we got Strixhaven Stadium or Luca Stadium. It is 3 mana for an artifact. Tap to add a colorless. Put a point counter on this artifact. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to you, remove a point counter from this artifact. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to an opponent, put a point counter on this artifact. Then if you have 10 or more point counters on it, remove them all, and that player loses the game. I don't really care about the losing the game part. It's just kind of neat, but it was kind of a neat card to put in the deck. I kind of like it. We have a Stone Speaker Crystal. So this is a 4 mana artifact. Tap to add colorless. 2 and a tap, sacrifice Stone Speaker Crystal. Exile any number of target players' graveyards, draw a card. We're going to talk about where that comes in handy, but at its worst, it's a 4 mana artifact that makes 2 mana. Soul Ring, enough said. Then we have a High Tide. So blue for instant until end of turn. Whenever a player taps on islands for mana, that player adds an additional blue. So it makes any one of your islands tap for double blue. Now, sometimes you can play this in a degenerate fashion. This is just a value piece. This is to help me, power out some stuff and get people dead, and so it's neat. It's not as abused as it could be. This is a very powerful card, and if people are not familiar with the power of a High Tide deck, then they should probably be paying attention. That thing is very, very powerful. And then last but not least, we have a Nykthos, Shrine to Nyx. Because I'm monocolored, there's incentive to count up your devotion to blue and then make that much mana with Nykthos. So excellent card. All right, so a little low on the actual ramp package, but I'm going to make up for it by drawing lots and lots of cards. So let's talk about how I'm going to draw a whole lot of cards. All right. So again, I'm drawing cards when I scry or when I surveil. So let's use a great example. So Mind Whisker, 2 and a blue for a 3/2 creature rat wizard. At the beginning of your upkeep, surveil 1. Well, with Matoya, that pretty much reads you get to surveil first and then you get to draw. So it's kind of like having your own Howling Mine on the battlefield all the time. And then as long as you have 7 or more cards in your graveyard, creatures your opponents control get -1, -0. I'm not really interested in that. I'm interested in the surveil at the start of my upkeep. All right, so that's going to draw me an extra card. We have an Enhanced Surveillance. So 1 and a blue. You may look at an additional 2 cards each time you surveil. Exile Enhanced Surveillance. Shuffle your graveyard into your library. So this is here to amplify my surveil so I can go and look and then make sure that I put something I really want into my hand each and every time I surveil. Maze Mind Tome. So this is a 2 mana and you tap to put a page counter on it. And then it scries 1 or 2 and a tap, put a page counter on this artifact, draw a card. When there are 4 or more page counters on it, exile it. If you do, you gain 4 life. So lots of times this got played in standard as a way to draw cards, but I just need to tap it to scry and then draw. So that makes it particularly appealing. We have Sphinx of Foresight. 2 blue for 4 Sphinx. I can reveal at the start of the game. If I do, I scry a bunch, which I'm not really interested in. But at the beginning of your upkeep, scry 1. So again, kind of like a Howling Mine effect. Castle Vantress. So this is a land. So it comes into play tapped unless you control an island. Based on the number of islands I have, that's not too hard. Taps for an island, and then 2 blue, scry 2. So again, you can use that just to straight up draw. Then we have, well, Reliquary Tower is not really, it just makes sure that when you overflow, because you have so many cards in your hand, you don't get penalized and have to discard them. Temporal Anchor here. 3 blue, blue, blue for a legendary artifact. At the beginning of your upkeep, scry 2. Whenever you choose to put one or more cards on the bottom of your library while scrying, exile that many cards to the bottom of your library. During your turn, you may play cards exiled with the Temporal Anchor. I'm not sure how good this card is. I have never actually managed to resolve it, but I thought it'd be worth trying. It does exactly the sort of thing I want it to. I want to scry. It lets me play extra cards. It seems like exactly where this is supposed to go. And in a bracket 2 deck, this is sort of a fun, flashy card that everyone wants to try out. We have Jace, Unraveler of Secrets. 3 blue, blue for a 5 loyalty Jace. +1, scry 1, then draw a card. So that may as well be +1, draw 2 cards. -2, remove target creature card, return target creature card to its owner's hand. And -8, you get an emblem with whatever, whenever an opponent casts his or her first spell, each turn, counter that spell. I'm assuming this is just +1, draw 2 cards, because that's all I'm probably getting. Rivendell. Rivendell is another land that comes into play unless you control unless you control a legendary creature. Taps for a blue, and then 1 in a blue. Tap scry 2. Activate only if you control a legendary creature. Mystic Redaction. 3 in a blue for an enchantment. Beginning of your upkeep. Scry 1. Okay, so I'm drawing more cards. Whenever you discard a card, each opponent mills 2 cards. Okay. We have Merit Lodge's Slumber. Okay, so this is 1 in a blue for a legendary snow enchantment. Whenever Merit Lodge's Slumber or another snow permanent enters the battlefield under your control, scry 1. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 10 or more snow permanents, sacrifice Merit Lodge's Slumber. If you do, create Merit Lodge, a legendary 2020 black avatar creature token with flying and indestructible. So this is in the deck because eventually all my lands are going to be the snow-covered lands. I don't have enough right now. I think right now I only have a dozen. But eventually they're all going to be snow-covered lands. Because there's very little that'll punish you for doing that. And you get to just, again, scry for playing lands. Which draws me more cards, and then eventually maybe you get a Merit Lodge token. Who knows? Maybe. Gossip Talent, so 1 in a blue for an enchantment. The first mode is whenever a creature enters the battlefield, you surveil 1. Whenever you attack, target attacking creature power 3 or less can't be blocked this turn. That's really not pertinent. And then the last one is whenever a creature you control does combat damage to a player, you may exile it, then return to the battlefield under its owner's control. I'm really just leaving this on the first mode. I might get frisky and get to the mode 2. I can't imagine mode 3 is overly pertinent to me. And then a Palantir of Orthonc. So 3 for a legendary artifact. At the beginning of your end step, put an influence counter on Palantir of Orthonc. And scry 2. Bingo! I'm going to draw cards. Then target opponent may have you draw a card. If that player doesn't, you mill X cards, where X is the number of influence counters on Palantir of Orthonc, and that player loses life equal to the total mana value of those cards. This is really super because it says scry, and I'm going to draw cards, and then my opponents may take damage, and I don't care if I mill, because that's kind of not a problem for me. Okay? So there's lots of ways to draw cards. There's lots of other things that we're going to do with those cards too, but let's get to that. So we have a bunch of interactions. So we're playing mono blue. And so the danger everyone thinks of mono blue is that we're going to be sitting on a bunch of counter spells. That's not really how this deck rolls. It's a little more interested into the scry and surveil plan. So that's why we play things like Consider. So very cheap single blues, instant surveil 1, then you draw a card. So it's 1 mana, draw 2 cards. We have an Opt. Again, same thing, 1 mana, scry 1, draw a card, so 1 mana, draw 2. Counter spells, some interaction, so we can counter something. We have a Mission Briefing, blue, for an instant, surveil 2, then choose an instant or sorcery card in your graveyard. You may cast it this turn. If that spell would put into your graveyard, exile it instead. So this is like Snapcaster Mage, but for as an instant. Otherworldly Gaze, single blue. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put any number of them on your graveyard, and the rest back into the top of your library. That's Surveil. So that says 1 mana, Surveil 3, and then flashback 1 in a blue. Unauthorized Exit. So this is 1 in a blue. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Surveil 1. So this is like your unsummon effect. It's pretty cheap. Surveils you 1, so it cantrips, replaces itself. Sinister Sabotage. 1 blue, counter target spell, surveil 1. Okay, simple enough. Snap. I love Snap. Return target creature to its owner's hand. Untap up to 2 lands. Very simple, very clean. Does the job. Pongify. Destroy target creature. It can't be regenerated. Its controller creates a 3/3 green ape creature token. Sometimes you gotta kill something dead. Hopefully not. 3 steps ahead. So this is from Outlaw's Junction. So it's got Spree. So it's a single blue. And then for an extra 1 and a blue, you counter target spell. Or if you play 6, you create a token as a copy of target artifact or creature you control. And then for that plus 2, draw 2 cards and discard a card. So we got lots of modality on it. Super useful card. I really like it. I just usually play as a counter spell, but sometimes if you have extra mana, it's handy. All right, we have Spell Gyre. So 2 blue for a instant. Choose 1, counter target spell, surveil 2, then draw 2 cards. So if I need to, this becomes 4 mana, draw 3 cards, but usually I use it as a counter spell. As far as Dismissal, so 2 and a blue, this spell costs 2 less to cast. If it targets an attacking creature, return target creature to its owner's hand, surveil 2. So you're going to get the cantrip again. We have a Dream Eater. I'm calling this an interaction. It's a little expensive though. 4 blue for a flash flying 4/3. When Dream Eater enters the battlefield, surveil 4. When you do, you may return target non-land permanent to its own, an opponent controls to its owner's hand. So you bounce a thing, surveil a bunch, and then hopefully can use that to great advantage. Don't make a sound. 1 and a blue. Counter target spell unless the controller pays 2. If they do, you surveil 2. Okay, so 2 mana or counter spells are always handy. Volatile Stormdrake, 1 and a blue. This is the Gilded Drake, but with energy flying, hexproof from activated and triggered abilities. When Volatile Stormdrake enters the battlefield, exchange control of Volatile Stormdrake and target creature and opponent controls. If you do, you get 4 energy. Then sacrifice that creature unless you pay an amount of energy equal to its mana value. So you're going to exchange control of something, and it's going to be a pretty good way to get rid of stuff. Mystic Sanctuary lets you get something back, one of your spells. We have Aetherize, this is a mass way to bounce attacking creatures to their owner's hand. We have an Archmage's Charm, which is going to has 3 modes: counter target spell, target player draws 2 cards, and then gain control of target non-land permanent with mana value 1 or less, and it's cast for blue. This is usually just another counter spell. In a mono blue deck, it's pretty handy. And then Karn's Temporal Sundering, 4 blue, take an extra turn, and then return 1 target non-land permanent to its owner's hand, exile Karn's Temporal Sundering. So all that interaction is going to let you bounce stuff, it's going to let you counter things, but it's not overly immense, and it's all the while drawing cards. All right, we have some other creatures here that are going to help us do some cool stuff. So we have things like Elegeth Crossroads Augur, 4 blue for a 5/6 legendary Sphinx. If you would scry a number of cards, draw that many cards instead. And it's got partner, but we don't care. We're just drawing cards. Elrond, Lord of Rivendell, 2 and a blue. Lord Elrond is a 3/2. Whenever Elrond, Lord of Rivendell, or another creature enters the battlefield under your control, scry 1. If this is the second time this ability was evolved this turn, the ring tempts you. The ring temptation thing is kind of neat. I'm not sure it's ever going to get there, but the fact that just playing a creature scries is pretty handy. Final Word Phantom, so 2 and a blue for a 1/4 with flash and flying. During each opponent's end step, you may cast spells as though they had flash. So this is like my way of playing like a ley line of anticipation through different means. It's not quite the same, I appreciate, but oftentimes you're doing stuff at the end step anyway, so kind of handy. Jill, Shiv is dominant, 2 and a blue for a 2/2. When Jill enters, return up to 1 target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. So it's like a Mana War effect, and then you can flip it for 3 blue, exile Jill, then return to the battlefield. And the other side is a Saga. So chapters 1 and 2, target creature can't be blocked. And then 3, tap all lands your opponent's control, exile Shiva, and return it to the battlefield. So tapping all their lands, so they're all shields down, seems pretty good to me. Then we have Serum Visionary, 2 and a blue, 2/2. Enters the battlefield, draw a card, then scry 2. So it's 3 mana, draw 2, which is pretty good on a creature. We have Lightshell Duo, 3 and a blue for a 3/4 with prowess and surveil 2. So again, it's going to replace itself. Starbreach Whale. This has got warp, so you can warp it in, or you can pay 4 and a blue for a 3/5 flyer. When this creature enters the battlefield, surveil 2, so you're cantripping again. We have an Ilmheg Pixie. So 1 and a blue for a 2/2 flying creature. Whenever this creature attacks, you surveil 1. So you start attacking with it. You're going to start drawing cards thanks to Matoya. Marauding Sphinx, 3 blue for a 3/5 with flying, vigilance, and ward 2. Whenever you commit a crime, surveil 2. This ability triggers only once each turn. Okay. And then we have a Meringue River Regent, so 4 blue for a 6/7. 6/7. Sorry, can't help myself. I teach middle school. But it's also got the Omen on one side, so 3 and a blue, draw 3 cards and discard a card. Or you play the Dragon. Whenever this creature enters, return up to 2 other target non-land permanents to their owner's hands. All right, so you're going to get a lot of stuff, and you're going to get them bounced out of the way. All right, let's talk about how we're going to beat our opponents to death. All right, so we have cards like this. Erudite Wizard, 2 and a blue for a 2/3. As a human wizard, whenever you draw your second card each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. So by drawing cards all the time, and so you scry, you're going to keep scrying and surveilling, and this is going to draw cards a lot of times, and you're going to put counters on it, so it's going to grow. Mischievous Mystic, same sort of idea. Whenever you draw your second card, create a 1/1 blue fairy creature token. So this is going wide instead of going tall. Homunculus Horde, 3 and a blue for a 2/2. Whenever you draw your second card, create a copy as a token of this creature. This gets exponential, so you're going to start 1 and then 2 and then 4 and then 8 and it's going to go crazy. Knights of Dal Amroth, 3 and a blue for a 3/3. Whenever you draw your second card, put a +1/+1 counter on Knight of Dal Amroth. All right, we have Emrakul's Messenger, 1 and a blue for a 2/1 flying devoid creature. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, create a 0/1 Eldrazi spawn creature token that has sacrifice this creature to add a colorless. All right, so now you're going to add extra tokens. All right, we have Fairy Vandal, 1 and a blue. Draw your second card, put a +1/+1 counter on it. It's got flash and flying for a 1/2. So it's going to grow into a very much bigger creature. Then we have Chasm Skulker, 2 and a blue for a 1/1 Squid Horror. Whenever you draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on Chasm Skulker. This goes nuts. All right. When Chasm Skulker dies, put X 1/1 blue squid creature tokens with Island Walk onto the battlefield, where X is the number of +1/+1 counters on Chasm Skulker. With Matoya and all the ways you have described, this is going to get very big very quickly, and your opponents are going to have to answer it. When they kill it, get caught up in a sweeper or something, you are going to create a whole lot of little tokens that you can then utilize. All right, we have Wizard's Class. So you have no maximum hand size as the first mode. When this class becomes level 2, you draw 2. Whenever you draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. So this is build a bomb. So build a scary thing by drawing a million cards. All right, Thoughtbound Phantasm. So it is a 1 mana 2/2 with Defender. Whenever you surveil, put a +1/+1 counter on Thoughtbound Phantasm. As long as Thoughtbound Phantasm has 3 or more +1/+1 counters on it, it can attack. So you're going to surveil, it's going to get big, and then you're going to beat them in the face with it. Then we have Klinkant Sky Mage and Onerophage. These are the same text. Whenever you draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on it. And they both fly, and so your opponents are going to die to those. And then we have Ominous Seas. So 1 and a blue for an enchantment. Whenever you draw a card, put a Foreshadow counter on Ominous Seas. Remove 8 counters. Create an 8/8 blue Kraken creature token. This pops off huge. All right. So let's talk about how we are going to win. So if we don't beat our opponents to death, what are we going to do? Well, one method we have here is Storm of Saruman. Storm of Saruman is 4 blue. With Ward 3, it's an enchantment. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, copy it, except the copy isn't legendary. You may choose new targets for the copy. There's lots of instants of sorceries in this deck, and copying things like bouncing 2 things and getting copies of stuff seems really handy. This is, again, another one of those expensive enchantments that I wanted to try out in this list, and I have a feeling it's going to be pretty powerful once I can get it online. This deck also has a mill strategy attached to it. So Aether Siphon, as an example. 1 blue for an artifact. Start your engines, so if you're going to get max speed, 2 and a tap to draw a card. If you reach max speed, whenever you draw a card, each opponent mills 2 cards. So if you can get this to max speed 4 and then start drawing cards, your opponents are going to mill a lot of cards very quickly. Like, it was not uncommon. When I played it last night, it would not be uncommon for me to draw 4 to 5 cards a turn, which means you're putting 8 to 10 cards in their graveyard. Now, that can come back and bite you. Absolutely, which is where our Stone Speaker Crystal comes in handy. All right, Sphinx's Tutelage, 2 and a blue. Whenever you draw a card, target opponent puts the top 2 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. If they're both non-land cards that share a color, repeat this process. And then 5 and a blue, draw a card, then discard a card. So again, mill your opponents out. Psychic Corrosion, 2 and a blue. Whenever you draw a card, each opponent puts the top 2 cards of their library into their graveyard. And then last but not least, we have Folio of Fancies. 1 and a blue for an artifact. Players have no maximum hand size. XX tap. Each player draws X cards. 2 and a blue. Each opponent puts a number of cards equal to the number of cards in their hand from the top of their library into their graveyard. So you're going to mill a bunch of things. And then when they mill things, you're going to get rid of all the graveyards and your opponents are all going to feel sad. All right? Now, we're not done yet because we haven't won the game just quite yet. We've milled them out. We've beat them around. What are we going to do? So we have Teferi Temporal Pilgrim. So 3 blue. So he's a 4 loyalty creature. And he's got static. Whenever you draw a card, put a loyalty counter on Teferi. 0, draw a card. -2, create a 2/2 blue spirit creature token with vigilance. It says, whenever you draw a card, put a +1 counter on this creature. And -12, target opponent chooses a permanent they control and returns it to its owner's hand. Then they shuffle each non-land permanent they control into its owner's library. I'm playing this for the -2, so you can make a bunch of dudes that you then get really big. But hey, if you can get the -12, go ahead. Rogue's Passage. You know all those creatures that get real big? What if you made them unblockable and made them punch their opponent in the face? That seems like a good strategy, right? So we're going to make them unblockable. Rogue's Passage. All right, we have Triskaidekaphile. You have no maximum hand size. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you have exactly 13 cards in your hand, you win the game. And then 3 and a blue to draw a card. And it's a 1/3 for 1 and a blue. I mean, it's kind of a funky alternative win condition. It's not good, but I'm willing to try it. Maybe I can get there. We have a Psychosis Crawler. So 5 mana for a artifact creature horror. It is star. Psychosis Crawler's power and toughness are each equal to the number of cards in your hand. Whenever you draw a card, each opponent loses 1 life. You are going to very quickly get your opponents dead because this, again, draws 4 to 5 cards a turn and is going to go ham. All right? Then we have a Wonder. If you have a creature in your graveyard, because you serve, an island in your graveyard and the Wonder, and really that's where you want this in the graveyard, all your creatures have flying. So all those creatures that got real big, like the Knights and all those, it's all going to fly. It's all going to get them dead. And last, but certainly not least, we have a Chroma's Memorial. 7 mana for legendary artifact. Creatures you control have flying, first strike, vigilance, trample, haste, and protection from black and from red. Now, this I slipped in here because I found it in a draft and it's kind of big and splashy. All right, so there's Matoya. Because the deck draws so many cards, you're going to find that you're going to draw through your deck pretty readily. In most cases, particularly if you're playing a bracket 2, maybe a bracket 3 level, you're going to be able to hang and interact because you're going to be able to create and manufacture your ways to win. It's not going to win. It doesn't win in a combo fashion. It doesn't win through some sort of like peculiar, unique, like it just grinds value out of drawing cards and beats your opponents in the face. And if your opponents get wise to it, they'll remove Matoya a bunch, and then you're going to feel a little bummed. But that's why you keep the counter spells. You protect Matoya. You hold on to things that are going to make sure that you keep your draw engines in place. And then, because you're going to have other things that are going to reward you for drawing cards. All right. So don't worry about that. There's lots of redundancy in the deck, but it is not a fast deck. It doesn't win, in a single turn or with a combo kill. It means you have to attack in multiple turns with things with flying and things that have picked up counters. So it's going to, people are going to find that they don't like to go to combat. That maybe not the deck for them. But at bracket 2, that's probably how most decks win anyways. So anyway, that's Matoya. The nice part about it, apart from the Chroma's Memorial and the Nykthos, which are neither cards you need to have in the deck is really quite affordable. A Chroma's Memorial is like a $40 card. Nykthos is $65. And the only reason I have a Nykthos or two is because I had them for years. But you could get away without playing either of those cards and play other things that are going to let you, take to the air and fly. So don't be intimidated by the price. Now the list is in the notes down below. You're welcome to check it out, and let me know what you think down below in the comments. Would you play this with your bracket 2 friends, or would you decide that it doesn't quite do enough for you? I don't know. If you like what you hear, please like and subscribe. We're trying to build our followers here on YouTube. See if we can get to 100. We're getting there. We're getting close to the 70. So a little bit of help to get up over 70 and get a little bit closer would be great. And we're going to be quickly back to recording soon. I know my co-host has been busy. He's going to school full time and working full time, so he's real busy. So we haven't been able to record with the same regularity as we normally can. But hold on tight. We're going to get to some new content here in the next little bit. Now that the end of the semester is coming up, and he's going to have some free time. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. Take care. Have a good one. This is Bruce for the Epic Experiment signing off. Peace.